needs it. Do you want to be successful or not?
I mean, I think we should bring back hazing in business. I mean, hazing makes, I mean, the military better. It makes fraternities better.
That's 2 for 2. What else we
That's two
got?
for two. Yeah. I think pro sports teams too. You remember
I
the
agree. 3 for 3.
Yeah, the Richie Incognito, Jonathan Martin saga.
Yeah, you think
The,
the U wasn't hazing? We're back. Jeremy Boudinet, Germantown's finest.
let's
Good
go.
morning. It is Friday, February 28th. We really mean it. Is back. Season 2.
We got
How are
renewed,
you?
BT. I'm good, man. We got renewed. Shouts out to Spotify. Shouts out to YouTube.
Thanks, guys.
The executives were just so enamored with season one that they said it's time for season two, and now here we are.
We really appreciate those dudes. AG1, Costco, United Healthcare. Thank you for coming through, and really peer pressuring us to get back on the mic and return. It's been a nice break. We've got a lot of stuff going on, but look, I've been missing this. I miss hanging out, talking on the internet.
I do too, man. I do too. I've been jonesing for this for a few weeks. I know you've had people in coffee shops just hitting you up randomly. You've had some fans clamoring,
It's
for more
pretty
content.
it's pretty cool. I made a joke the other day because so there's been 2 interactions like very recently where people were like, "Oh yeah, like what's up with this podcast?" Like, and then they were like, "Well, what happened?" I was like, "Well, we're on a break." I said it in a way that like implied our relationship was on a break, which is not what I meant. But no, it's funny. It's also embarrassing because then I'm like, God, what did I say? Like, what have we said? What have we said that we just shared out there? But for those who are going to listen to this later, the only way you're going to discover this is if you're like an absolute insane person on Spotify and or you follow one of us on Instagram. So the Venn diagram of discovery is pretty tight. I assume you probably like us if you ended up listening to this.
Yeah, if you've randomly stumbled across this, I mean, God help you. I don't
I
know what.
apologize.
Yeah, seriously.
You truly run out of content. You're like you're in the ether. You're basically, our friends who believe that there's like some, utopian society on the other side of the ice wall. Like you've crossed that chasm into this utopia. We're here.
This is it. We're the utopian society on the other side
You
of the ice wall.
you made it through. We need a deep dive on the ice wall. One point of friction I'll bring up before we even dive into any of our topics today. You and I are part of a group text called Conspiracy Sunday. It's weighted against me. It's not a healthy place for me to be in because it's you along with some other friends. They're just sending the most insane reels and YouTubes and links to just asinine theories. I wouldn't even call them conspiracy theories. I mean, most of them are somewhere beyond that. But it's fucked up all my algorithms now. So like if I'm trying to do, a little mental reset, and I'm on Reels or whatever, it's just these dudes in front of in front of a screen and they're like showing a picture that's like clearly AI created. And they're like, did you know once you get past this place where Shackleton got stuck, it's all rainforest. I'm like, what is happening? This is your fault. This is you guys' fault.
Because of us, your entire Instagram algorithm thinks you're like flat Earth. There's like the Tartan Empire or
Yeah,
whatever.
it's like pictures of buildings that were built in like
Yeah,
1910. It's like, why can't we
yeah.
build these anymore? It's like, dude, that's built recently. Like
It's
there
the
was one
world's
that,
the
yeah.
World's Fair. It's some of the World's Fair conspiracies.
Yeah, you're actually familiar with
I'm
these.
I'm in on all of these, bro. So
We have to do a dedicated section to this tartan one or whatever because like I as a person who like you might not even know this about me. I wanted to be an architecture major.
I did not know this. Yeah.
Yeah, so this is a fact corner. We're in a fact corner right now. But I wanted to be an architecture major. I took some specific classes. Like all of this is like normal shit. Like we've been building buildings like this for hundreds of years. In the US, there's all kinds of buildings from really like the early days where people are building these ornate kind of facades on buildings. And dudes in basically here's the real take. It's dudes who live in suburban communities where like the tallest building is like the Publix, and they're like why can't we build cool stuff? It's like yeah, because every day you drive by like a Chick-fil-A and a car wash place and a Publix, and you're like, that's all we can do. We don't have the technology.
This group chat is phenomenal, and our friend Neo, who we'll invite on the podcast soon, is really the ringleader of it. And but my favorite thing to do is to jump in there and just stoke the flames every once in a while. So, like the fact, BT, we haven't been more than 6 miles below the Earth's surface. How do we know? How do we know what the core of the Earth is like? Like we've never even been down there.
You know what's really messed up? And I'm gonna keep the names anonymous, but like I'm in the car the other day. Like so that's real. That's like a real that's a real life quoted example.
Yes,
And this
yes.
kind of stuff happens all the time to a level that's like infringing on my mental health. But the other day, one of my kids was just like, well, how do we know about XYZ? Whatever. Like, it was like dinosaurs. It's like no one was there. And I was like, oh my God. Like,
That's another one.
I can't do this right now. It was like, it was a really good question. It was like genuine, uh, you know, child curiosity, which is a beautiful thing. And you're like, dude, we could like learn about this. And in my mind, I had to think, I was like, what would I normally do? I'd go on YouTube. We'd like go find a cool dinosaur video. And I'm like, if I go to YouTube, the video is going to be some fucking nerd who's going to be like, the dinosaur bones aren't really dinosaur. I'm like, I can't expose them to this guy. I can't expose them to him. That's that's like a life altering fork in the road where my son just goes down a dark path. And I have Conspiracy Sunday to thank for that.
BT, your kid, he's at a fork in the road here where he can either join us or he can join you.
You could think that there's a mythical society we lost from Western Asia that was just building Gothic style architecture. No one else knew about it. No one else knew that existed.
I love it. My goal is going to be once Tank gets to be like, of a certain age, me and Tio just start like low key
No,
feeding him certain information just to
I'll
get him.
move. I'll move. I'll find a way to get out. I'll become a refugee, political dissident. Speaking of politics, I'll kick us off out of the banter portion, but
Mhm.
we are effectively a month in to the new administration's administration. We're live. We've been live. Okay, you're already doing the fist pump thing. Give me your thoughts and give me your grade. Give me like your grade and like
Yeah,
how you think things are going.
I'm giving it a solid A. I mean, I stunned at the speed and the tone of what's happening. I mean, Trump came in, he launched Doge, took out USA, just went straight for like the jugular of the deep state financial stronghold. I thought used Elon very deftly to kind of like make that happen. I know you're devastated by that, BT. I know this is
I'm
you're
just gonna let you roll. I'm not gonna say
yeah,
anything. I
yeah.
don't want to be
So
associated with these quotes.
so it's a mixture of stuff like that, which is phenomenal, which is like actual substantive, hits. And then just the classic Trump moves like renaming the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America. Just an absurd like showmanship sort of move that also is like kind of awesome. I love that. Like the latest thing now, where he started to dip here, the Epstein
Oh,
files
are we gonna be?
release.
We're gonna have some honesty. Okay,
We got some honesty.
please
I mean,
continue.
I'm a little bit concerned. I'm a little bit concerned at what that he's compromised because this Epstein files release is. I think this might be too hot. Too hot for even him. But it was promised. It hasn't really been delivered, so I'm a little bit disappointed in that. But Yeah, and then the tariff stuff is interesting. I know and we're also seeing some interesting financial reactions to like all that stuff. I think it's going to get bad before it gets good, with like how that impacts the economy. So in general, though, like I give him an A. I think it's gone very well, and I'm pleased with it. So BT, what about you? What do you think?
Well, first of all, I'm going to commend you because that was at least a sober take of like sure you're given the A on I don't know, the bravado and the pace at which stuff is happening,
Yes,
which I understand your point of view.
startup dude.
Also think in like fairness to you, yeah, like I think there are flaws in the thing, like obviously, and there are
Yeah,
things that what you're really like with the Epstein files and whatever. I think it's just like the realization of the ultra fan. I don't know if I'm gonna put you in the ultra fan category or not, but like this is a person who says stuff that they clearly don't intend to like act upon. Like we're gonna release him in 24 hours, and then like whatever, it's
yeah,
been whatever 5 weeks plus. He has people in all those places who could do that if they wanted to. Anyway, what my grade, I, I don't know. I think I certainly would also uh I would commend that I do think there's a ton of government waste and a ton of government like wasted resources is part one. I also think wasted time, and I think there's a significant amount of like wasted energy. And
yep,
I think that is probably one of Elon's real strengths. There's a huge negative on one side of this, but just acting with such speed, basically his approach, and this was the playbook at Twitter, is he's just gonna kick a bunch of stuff and like see what breaks. And like I
yeah,
don't know that that's like what I hate about. So there's a positive because you're probably finding out stuff that doesn't in fact break, and it does seem in a handful of cases, to give him credit, like one notable one this week was like we stopped funding something that's like prevents Ebola in some way, some program to like limits or prevents Ebola. And like I think we reinstated that pretty quickly. Like at least that's what
right,
Elon said. So I think there's a real, you know, ability to react and ability to, when you kick something that breaks that was important, fix it. The flip side, and this is my general take on the first whatever month and a half month plus, is like whereas and this is more to you guys, like to the fans versus to like Trump, the actual candidate. Like I didn't think Trump ever had a strategy. I think Trump just says stuff. I mean, he does. He's like noted for saying, "I just say stuff." He's like, "I do the weave.
yes.
I do the weave," and like whatever comes out comes out. And now he's got like a couple other people who are basically surrounding themselves by other weavers, and they're just doing stuff. I don't think they have any like goal. Is my real like that's probably one of my biggest existential dread things that like keeps me up as an avid fan of the deep state and of like USA acceleration absolutist. Like I want us to be the global superpower. I want us to be the best country in the world. I want us
Sure.
to make choices today that impact the country being better tomorrow, 10 years from now, 100 years from now. I think that he, at least right now, is not operating with any of that at all. I think it's just like what is going to get reaction online, what is going to get headlines, and like that's the Gulf of America thing. Like the Gulf of America thing, part of me is like, you know what, kind of awesome. Part of me is like, what a freaking waste of time and energy and conversation and whatever else. And yeah, like that's my general take is like it's directionless. And I think that's Elon's big miss. Like not to wax poetic on too much, but like if Elon was treating it like a company and he was like, our mission is to do X. He used to do this with Tesla. He doesn't really do it anymore. He definitely still does it with SpaceX. We're going to go to Mars. We're going to do X, Y, or Z. There's no real mission right now. The mission is just basically like to own the libs and like to piss people off. And basically, like, he's like, just tweets, he just trolls people online about stuff they've canceled. And I think that's a miss. Like, I think if there was a mission and it was clear and it was like, we're going to do all this because it's going to allow the US to do these things, or we're going to, whatever. I think there would be like way wider support. And I think I think most people like myself who call myself in the middle would be like, oh yeah, like let's stop spending money on XYZ dumb thing. Let's, redirect that or whatever. Like there's this, tangible benefit. But, instead he's like, calling people retarded on the internet. And it's like, wait. Like,
You're not
you're the
you're
most
not
powerful person in the world.
you're not Big Balls fan, Ryan.
To be clear, I'll take that question like, yeah. I'm a fan of let's put super smart, hungry, motivated people in positions where they can have a high impact. Like that is our
Yep.
careers, right? Like that is, there's no like you have to be 35 years old to be the CEO of a startup or to start a company
Right.
or to invest in companies or to be a VP of marketing. Like you can just do it, and if you do it well, that's great. And so like I'm a fan of that, but I think the intentional, like it appears that a lot of times things are either super disjointed and or done with the intention of, agitating people. Like that's what it feels like.
I think so. I'll say this. I think Doge, like the fact that the U.S. taxpayers, are the second highest contributors to the BBC. The uncovering things like that, I think, has been very good because we are actually uncovering like what the fuck are we doing? Like, why are we spending government money on funding the BBC? This is to me, this is the Doge uncovering of the spend of USAID like alone was like such a big win because it was the most transparent sort of revelation of okay, here's how your money is being wasted, and here is how it's not only being wasted, it's being used to sort of prop up this fake reality where this deep state bureaucracy is essentially funding these things.
Don't correlate the
And
two. Do
what
I
do you
think
mean?
there's a lot of agenda building and I think there's a lot of influence through that? I agree.
Yes,
I also think
there
there's
is.
a
There
lot of
is.
miscommunication and or outright intentionally miscommunication on the side of like, we'll call it the administration. Like there's been a bunch of stuff. I agree. Like, should we be funding those things to the level that we're funding them? Probably not a good explanation why, and probably good to be stopped. But there's also like, we're spending X million dollars on Politico, and then like someone actually finds a receipt and it's like we spent $40,000 on like Politico advanced licenses. And it's like, this is not the same thing.
The Politico thing that I think it was more, it was like $27 million or something. It was a
I think it
little
was like
bit.
in the thousands. I've seen
No,
a couple things on this.
I've seen a couple things on it too. We'll
We're gonna do our
we'll have to
research. We're
we'll
gonna
do
do
our
our.
research afterwards. We'll call it
This
a
is a lie.
stalemate for yeah. This is live. We'll call it a stalemate for right now. But we've had this. I've actually had this with other people too about Politico. But yeah, I agree. I think overall though, I want to see more. Like he's just getting started. Like the jury's still out. Obviously, it's the first month. But in general, I like the direction. So I think the economy, the tariff stuff's gonna be really interesting though with the economy, and that's kind of I think the big thing is how's the economy going to do, over the next year. I love what I think he's attacking. He's showing he's attacking government corruption, which is a big thing. But I think the economy also is. If he does those two things well and he keeps us out of foreign wars, then we're golden. So but I need to see how things progress.
Lots of statements to the contrary about foreign wars in the first month, uh, alluding to be involved in operations and or things in other places. We can come back to that. We can come back to a future
Sure,
segment.
we
Once
will.
again, I think a lot of those are based on the weave. Like I don't think that they're like, you know, based on actual plans of the United States. But that kind of goes to my, and this I'll do one thing on the tariffs real quick because I agree. I think the economy is much rockier than it was 5 weeks ago, and a lot of that's just like instability and lack of clarity on where we're going. And I read a great thing about. I may have shared it with our group, but you know the whole negotiation process of Trump, which is, Trump's not been the CEO of like a massive he's not been the CEO of a huge company. He's been the CEO of really what like a small business, which is a frankly like kind of niche real estate developer. Like he negotiates with contractors, property owners, and people who are buying real estate from him. And like it's a big operation, but it's actually relatively small in terms of like the number of properties. And so he has like basically this maximalist negotiating style. Like, if you, well, actually, I'm going to cater a slight bit and I'll discount a little bit, but he plays this game, and the scale at which that game works, I think, probably makes a ton of sense when you're, arguing with a contractor on who's going to pour the concrete for this facility somewhere, and it's like, F you, we're not using you, we're using Jeremy. It's like, okay, fine, I'll come down 12%. It's like, okay, deal. Well, it's totally different when the like web of interconnectivity between us and Canada is what it is, or pick your thing. Like these are like very hyper related entities, and it's not just this single single negotiating position on this single contract. It is like this myriad web of overlapping things, and that's where I think it goes back to the strategic side. I think a lot of times he's like, I'm going to get percentages on this, and I don't think there's a lot of like strategic thought about all the other interconnectivity.
Yeah. I mean, TBD on how it all plays out for sure. I think it's an I want to see how I haven't seen anyone do it on an international stage. So it's going to be interesting to see if maybe that does work, but.
Do I want Canada to be, the 51st through 57th states? That's it.
Absolutely.
Do I think it's the best way of doing it? I don't think so.
We'll see. But yeah, good. It definitely gave me interesting to see, I think, going forward. It's entertaining, if nothing else. More's happened in the last month than happened, the last 2 years under the Biden administration. So no shortage of content for us, for sure.
It's just every day. I just got checking on my 78-year-olds. Basically, for the last 5 years, that's what we've been doing. Checking in on old people. What are the old people doing?
Yeah, exactly.
All right, I'm gonna skip ahead. I'm gonna ask you one I think you're gonna have a passionate take about. But we had a culture shift moment about making like this strive for greatness and making ambition, not ambition, but like the pursuit of excellence great again. Can you tell me your thoughts?
Well, of course, you're referring to Timothee Chalamet's speech. I think it was the SAG Awards, maybe? Was that
That's
it?
right. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like a week or so ago.
Yeah. I loved it. And for those who don't know, like Timothee Chalamet, obviously, like great actor. I'm a big fan of his. He's been awesome in I think everything he's been in. But he won an award, and he went on stage and he basically said, I'm striving to be one of the greats. Like my goal is I'm inspired by Marlon Brando and all these great actors. And I want to be up there with them. And it was sort of the opposite of like the like typical, like faux humility, sort of whatever, aw shucks type deal. Like this dude was like Kobe Bryant mode on stage.
I agree. That's how I felt.
Yeah, I love that. I think it's I said make ambition cool again, because I think in general it's part of this sort of cultural swing that's happening where it's like a little bit more of a masculine sort of like throwback vibe happening right now in culture.
Women can't be great. Women can't be ambitious.
Women can be, but like there's just the general attitude of like we're like striving's cool again, trying is cool again, ambition, success is cool again. It goes back to like the New Yorker got in trouble a few weeks ago because they tried to cancel. Like there was a picture. Do you remember this? Like the cover where it was all these like rich people like celebrating the Trump win, and like it was like very well dressed, like attractive people on the cover. And they tried to like make it. They were like, look at these people. Look how fucking awful they are. It was like, why? Because they're like dressed well and like they're attractive. Like what? Like that doesn't work anymore. Like people who take care of themselves, who achieve success, who work hard, who, make lots of money or like reach the heights of their profession, that's fucking cool. Like we should all strive to be like that. So I think for a while I still do see some people like the people celebrating the murder of the United Healthcare CEO.
Whoa, whoa,
There's,
whoa! Don't
yeah,
bring Luigi back into
we're
this.
bringing Luigi back into
Sponsor my
this
sponsors.
because I know. I know, but I'm just saying there are people who were like, yeah, kill the billionaires. Like, fuck those people. That's not like, you know what? Like, that is not that attitude's defeatist and like, frankly, communist. Like if you want to hold yourself down, then do it. But you should be listening to Timothee Chalamet and gunning for greatness because you have a life, you have free will, you have the ability to go do shit. So I'm glad to see Timothée Chalamet, someone from the arts, pushing that.
It's a great point on two things. And one, I want to commend you because I do think it's a good call out that it is not typical. It is atypical to have a person from, uh, you know, whatever you want to call it. Musicians, I think, do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, like from film, from actors. I think you're right. I think what you're describing is a palpable thing, and I do. This is where I think the Andreessens, Ben Horowitz.
Mm-hmm.
I think there to an extent, Elon before he like really became central to the government was on this. There's a bunch of people in that kind of like in the Trump, but like Silicon Valley Trump ecosystem or whatever, like that influence sphere. Like the vibe shift is real. The vibe shift
Yeah.
is very real on like let's go be awesome. And this is like where I feel like the American exceptionalism thing
Yes.
is a cool if we could really harness that and we could focus on that and we could like get the 60s, we had a moment of that. We certainly had that some in the 80s
Yep.
of like let's go do it. Like America's the place and you individually should be fucking wanting it. Like go strive
Yeah.
whatever it is. It doesn't have to be money. It could be whatever excellence. I do think that's real, and I love that speech happened.
I do too. Yeah. I mean, the 80s and 90s, dude, us growing up, I mean, think about it. Like, it was like you had movies like Independence Day where the president, was like flying fighter jets to kill aliens. Like, that was the vibe. Like, American
Good point.
exceptionalism. Yeah. You had like,
When faced with aliens who are destroying, World Heritage sites, all that's left is the American president.
exactly. You had, Michael Jordan growing up. Like we all like loved it. Tiger Woods, like this is, and I love that. That is America. America is the land of striving, and like people come here to strive and go for it. I'm saying there's no caste system. There's no like oh, my family was like royalty back in the day. Like in Europe or whatever. It's like it's anyone can be anything. So I think the more we lean into that, that's what has always made us special. So yeah, it's cool to see. I'm a fan for sure. I know you are as the COO of a company literally called Ambition.
I
This
do
is
like that. I do
reality.
like people dropping more ambition. It messes up our SEO, but yeah, making ambition cool again is that's where we like that is the culture war that I want to win. This is like I'm going back to the thing that frustrates me for a second. I'll try to tie it to the positive, but like it frustrates me when we get distracted about this kind of infighting and like people can have stylistic choices, and I think both sides are too focused, or I think there are participants on both sides who are too focused on that stuff and like too focused on really stylistic
Yeah.
BS. And like if we got to the consensus of like what do we want? We really do want a nation of people who are excelling and are thriving and are healthy and are doing great things in their community or their professions or for their kids or whatever it is. Like we're all winning. Like that's a positive system, and we just distract from that too much. We distract from that with like the nonsense.
Yeah, and if you're not careful, I've seen both sides do this. Because if you're not careful, you can veer into permanent victim mode where the other side's always out to get you and holding you down and blah blah blah, and it becomes, I've seen like it affect people's mentality for like their whole life. You know what I'm saying? It's like you can't live like that. Like you need to you're not a victim. No one in America is a victim. Like go and seize the
Go
day.
do it. Go
Go
do it.
do it. Yeah.
Yeah, I despise that. You know who's never been a victim?
Who? Can't
My
wait to do
boy
this.
Anthony Edwards.
No, he's not,
A1,
dude.
A1 from day one. I'm moving us back. I mean, once again, we're
This
going
is a
with
great
like
transition.
it just struck me. Like a guy, give me. I don't know if you've seen any of the clips I've been sharing, but like Anthony Edwards being asked about him playing other sports is one of the all time greatest clips ever, and it's it's art.
I haven't seen this clip, but I do have a great Anthony Edwards story to tell you.
Well, hit me with the story.
I was at our fantasy football draft in Wrightsville Beach about 4 years ago.
Hours. I was also there. Okay,
Yeah,
interesting.
yeah, you were
I don't
there. You and I
remember
were both
Anthony
there.
Edwards.
Yeah, well, this is 4 years ago. My old boss called me and was like, "Dude, I'm about to sign the jersey patch deal for the Minnesota Timberwolves. And I'm gonna get Anthony Edwards to be the spokesperson for our company." I'm
Big.
like, "How much money, dude?" He's like, $3 million. I'm like, "Oh shit." I'm like, and I literally, bro, I said, "Don't do it."
What?
I was like, "You need, don't do it." Because Edwards was like the first pick in the draft. Like I like
He's coming up. Yeah.
he was coming up. I didn't like. I was like, dude, the Timberwolves have fucking sucked, bro.
You didn't F
Like
with him.
I didn't rock
You're
with him at
not
all.
on A1 from day one.
I was not. I was like a big time. I was trying to talk him out of it, but he did the deal. And so if you've seen the aura patch on the Timberwolves the last few years, that was my old boss who did that. And Edwards was the spokesperson and like was in like commercials and like he leaves like boys with him. But I love him, dude. He is like, I mean, first of all, he's definitely Michael Jordan's illegitimate son.
I
Um,
love this theory. We need like 25 minutes and we may need some guests to go into it, but I choose to believe that's true.
Yeah, I choose to believe it. I don't even want to hear about another alternative theory because like he is wired. He looks like Jordan. He plays like Jordan. He's wired mentally like Jordan. What the world needs desperately, what the NBA needs desperately, is another Grizzlies Timberwolves playoff series that goes 7 games, and it's
Ooh.
Ja going to war against Edwards. Like, can you imagine those two guys?
This is a interesting because you had mentioned like we're gonna knock the NBA. We're gonna do like why the NBA is dying, and you're basically veering into this. But well, first of all, we'll get back to Anthony Edwards. The NBA, what the NBA needs, to your point about Anthony Edwards and the Grizzlies T Wolves, is you just need dudes who give a shit. And what
Yes,
the NBA struggles with on a whatever Tuesday night in February is like two teams playing somewhere and everyone's like, dude, I can't wait to leave. Like I don't care about this game. The difference between like an Ant or a Ja and like this is Bill Simmons has said this, like it's just dudes who give a shit. Like
yes,
they are like, I do not, if we're playing ping pong later, or we're going outside and doing like cornhole, like I'm gonna fucking win. And like
yes,
those dudes, as like especially as young guys, like you know, it's the counter is like the NBA is the players are so good now. They're so good. It's effortless. Steph Curry is
yes,
effortless. He scored 56 points last night. But like the worst thing, this sounds terrible to say, like Jokic is the worst thing because it is a dude who does everything so well but makes it look so effortless and is like outside of the game could not care less about the NBA. He's just like
yeah,
wants to go back, ride, see his horse farm in Serbia, and like I know he's competitive, but like you need dudes after the game, like Ja being like, I don't fucking like those guys. Like
yes.
that's why I wanted to play hard tonight. Like Ant legitimately doesn't like people, and that's what we need. We need like the bird magic
Yes.
malcontent of players.
That's such a great point that I think that is missed the real animosity, the visceral battling where it's guys trying to prove themselves and like they want to beat their competitors. And think about like Jordan versus the Pistons back in the day. or like, the Pistons against the Lakers, trying to go against them, like, or even like LeBron trying to win his first title with the
against the
Heat.
Celtics.
Yeah, I mean, these were phenomenal.
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
But yeah, I think we need that. We need guys who give a shit and like really care. And I want to see the NBA come back. I think you need some of that like visceral like intensity and physicality to come back to the game a little bit. It can't be all space and pace, hit threes, and then get easy buckets and make it look
Yes,
so easy.
it's weird because like the skill level now is so high, and if you're watching a game, like the chess match really is like intense. It's intense. Like you're taking away something from a guy who's so good he can do two other things also incredibly. I think the skill level, if you put guys from this era against guys in the '90s, they would just cook
Beat them
guys
up.
in the
Yeah,
'90s. Yeah, they
I
would.
agree.
They would. The shooting, the ball handling, but like yeah, the net is you need guys who just have animosity or just refuse to lose a game. What's fun, like I was gonna link it back. I don't know if you saw. So Meta is releasing basically a ChatGPT alternative or a competitor to ChatGPT. It's like a standalone app based on their own llama. Well, what's amazing is I think this was last night or maybe early this morning, but Sam Altman then tweets, like subtweets the release and is like, well, maybe we're getting into social networking. And I'm like, this is what we need.
That's
We
what I
need
love. Yes.
Sam Altman for a small dude has, he's got big energy. He's got big energy for a small dude. And I love those guys taking public shots at each other, being like, you know what? Maybe we're going to make a little social network out, you know?
I'm
I'm
here
all
for
in.
it too. I'm here. Listen, my favorite founders are the guys who are like firing shots on social, and like they're like, I even love guys like Martin Shkreli and stuff. I just think they're fascinating.
It's a
I think,
longtime hero of yours. A
yeah,
longtime hero of yours.
he really is, because he actually did stuff and was a good founder, and then he got villainized, and
He kind of turned heel. I can't tell if it was an intentional heel turn or like, and this I think some of Elon's problem with Elon is I think it's just easy once you have those guys both had a high level of visibility, but I think it's just easy to turn heel. And
yes,
sometimes
it is.
it's hard to be like, what I'm doing is good because of this reason. The mob doesn't want the nuance. The mob wants like blood. And you're like, I'm just
Yeah.
gonna give them that.
I would give it that. I would see the problem. Like, I would 100% go heel turn. Like, if I got like
I feel like
famous
you've
enough,
done that. I've seen this.
I have done it. It's actually
You
one of my
probably are
college.
wearing expensive loafers right now. Like I mean, yeah, you're close. You're not far off.
VT, it's always been one of my calling cards is openly talking shit to the competition at every company I've ever worked at. Like, I can't help it. You know.
Yeah, as a founder, it was tough. It's tough having that because on one hand, the prevailing wisdom, which I think may be turning, like we just said with those dudes, but the prevailing wisdom is like you just ignore the competition. The competition doesn't matter. The only thing that's going to kill you is yourself. Yeah, and you're a that's a Paul Graham ism. Yeah, you are not part of that school of thought. You're not on that camp. You're like, I'm gonna make a
No.
LinkedIn post. I'm gonna throw meat at their office. I've never understood
Yep.
that.
Yeah.
I'm
Beef.
gonna call out individual human beings that work in their business.
It's all right. It's because I work in marketing, bro, and the people want what sells records. Biggie, Tupac. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeesh.
what sells boxing match tickets? It's dudes starting shit with each other. We're talking about the NBA. Like, what would sell NBA tickets? Like dudes actually like
That's a
talking
great
smack.
point.
Yeah. So
I don't think
it's
there's
all.
a founder in our space who could take me. Like I'm taking everyone. Like I may have to think about this. Maybe we got to workshop this next episode. But like no chance. Especially me and Jared, like no chance.
Yeah, you guys. I mean, you guys are over there at the Brickyard Gym. Like every day doing stuff.
There's one big guy. There's one big guy in our space, but I mean, I'm going low. I'm going low quick. I'm sweeping legs. Like it's no chance.
I love how you literally like in your mind just immediately went there
I
in terms
started
of
thinking
like,
about how do I against each dude in a physical altercation.
see, it's human nature, buddy. It's like you can't deny human nature. Just tap into your inner, Anthony Edwards, and you're good to go.
I love that.
Yeah.
We got to do. I mean, the last thing I'll do one little dig because I love this week. I sent it to at least you. How quick would Dan Crenshaw just end Tucker? End him.
So I'm not going to get into this. I'm a Tucker guy. And I think Crenshaw's deep state compromised. So, but thank you for your service, Dan. Still deep state compromised. So, but he
Oh
probably
my
would.
god.
You know,
Oh my
I'm
god.
not. Tucker's not the
He
guy
probably
for
represents
like.
your district. What part of Texas is he? What part of Texas is he in?
He probably does actually. I need to look that up. So I don't even know. That's how I'm not. I haven't been here long enough yet to do my research. But
Yeah, you're
yeah,
still a tourist by Texas standards.
I
I thought
don't
that
own
was
boots
great.
yet. Yeah, I know you loved it. I know you're hyped about it. So you just need to move to Texas, dude. All your people are here. This is where you belong. You already
Yeah,
got boots.
it's the dudes who are living like 55 miles from a city center and being like, we can't build great buildings anymore. It was a mythical society. All they have is Whataburgers here. We don't have the technology to go higher than the ceiling of a Dick's Sporting Goods.
God, dude, we're gonna next. I want to dig more into conspiracies next episode. I think that's gonna give our fans something to look forward to. So let's do it.
Well, if you're on the internet and you spent this time with us, we appreciate it. Jeremy, I had a blast. It's great to be back in season 2 with you. We'll send this out. We'll share the clips over the weekend. But thanks everyone. Have a good weekend.